Come see us on tour in Hartford, Connecticut, Syracuse, Atlantic City, Levittown, New York, Co-Host, New York, Providence, Rhode Island, Los Angeles, Bakersfield, San Jose, Toledo, Ohio, and Toronto, Ontario. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. As we've just talked about, Trump is bombing the hell out of Yemen. Joe Biden dropped 1,000 bombs on Yemen. It all started with Barack Obama. And Donald Trump said he shouldn't be bombing Yemen. We could end this with a phone call. Well, he's not. He's bombing the hell out of them again. And here's Tulsi Gabbard. You want to see her do a complete flip-flop 180? So this is why we loved Tulsi, because she would say the truth like this.
There are millions of Yemeni people who are on the brink of death from famine, disease, lack of access to food and water, basic medicine and health care. Thousands of Yemeni civilians have died in this genocidal war being waged by Saudi Arabia with support from the United States.
It's absolutely outrageous that the United States has continued its support for years now for Saudi Arabia's genocidal war in Yemen.
It's outrageous, she said.
That has killed thousands and thousands of innocent Yemeni people and caused mass starvation and suffering, a cholera epidemic, the worst humanitarian crisis in the world in Yemen.
The worst humanitarian crisis in the world in Yemen. The United States was backing it, funding it, providing the bombs and the air and the weapons and the intelligence for it. Just like we're doing for the next biggest humanitarian crisis in the world, which is the Gaza genocide. Isn't it amazing? Here we get that. But back then she called it out, and that's why we loved her.
Congress finally passed legislation to end U.S. support for Saudi Arabia's genocidal war in Yemen. Now this bill is sitting on President Trump's desk, awaiting his signature or veto. Now, he's already threatened to veto this bill, which just reveals how he cares more about what Saudi Arabia wants than what the American people want. You saw Trump's rhetoric on the campaign trail about Saudi Arabia, against United States support for Saudi Arabia, calling them out for what they are, and now refusing to end U.S. military support for this genocidal war in Yemen that Saudi Arabia is waging, that's created the worst humanitarian crisis of our generation, because he says, well, he doesn't want to risk a multi-billion-dollar arms deal with Saudi Arabia. So, you can see, at least in that respect, what he's really motivated by. He would rather continue to support the senseless and devastating deaths of innocent people in Yemen and using our U.S. military, my brothers and sisters in the military, to do that, because he doesn't want to risk an arms deal with Saudi Arabia, a theocratic dictatorship that actually directly supports terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda.
So that was the good. What, is there more to this? So that was the good Tulsi. That was the Tulsi that it was easy to get behind and support and defend when she was slandered. That was the good Tulsi. And that was when Trump was supporting bombing Yemen because of Saudi Arabia. Now he's doing it on the behest of Israel, because the Houthis in Yemen are in solidarity with the Palestinians being slaughtered by Israel, and that's why they cut off their shipping. And so now Trump's going to go there, and now Obama, Biden, and Trump bombed the hell out of Yemen at the behest of Saudi Arabia, and now he's going to do it at the behest of Israel. Well, he is doing it. He's not going to do it. He's doing it. And he's doing it also threatening Iran. So this is a way for Benjamin Netanyahu to get the United States to bomb Iran. To say, oh my God, they're supporting the Houthis who are bombing the ships and the thing. So that's how this all works. So before, Tulsi couldn't stand it. Now, watch Tulsi. This is heartbreaking.
Leadership going back through his first term as president, he has been and remains very committed to combating and defeating the threat of Islamist terrorism that not only affects.
We're the terrorists. We're the terrorists. The United States is the terrorists. Saudi Arabia was the terrorists. Benjamin Netanyahu and the IDF and the Zionists are the terrorists. They're the ones slaughtering people for land. We're the terrorists. We have yet to be attacked. What is the United States hasn't been attacked by Islamists since 2001. And that's really questionable about who else was in on that. So this is the bullshit line now that what a flip-flop. Let's listen to more.
The United States, the American people, our own safety and security.
It has nothing to do with our safety and security. That's a lie. So she's just lying. It has nothing to do with our safety and security. She's doing the bidding of the Zionists.
But it is affecting so many people in different parts of the world.
It certainly isn't affecting us. It's not affecting us. We already covered this on Monday. The idea that what's happening over there is affecting us, it's not.
We can see different terrorist groups, the Houthis in Yemen being one of them, that President Trump has... The
Houthis in Yemen are not the terrorists. The terrorists are us.
Designated after President Biden took them off of the terrorist list, redesignated them appropriately as a terrorist organization.
You know who they just took off the terrorist list? The guy who's running Syria right now. Because he was the head of Al-Qaeda. Now they call it HTS, so you don't know it's Al-Qaeda. They call it HTS. There used to be a $10 million reward. Biden, Trump. They had a $10 million reward for the guy who's running Syria right now. All of a sudden, oh, wait a minute. He's not a terrorist anymore, even though he is. So she's playing the game. She's bullshitting you. She's gaslighting you. She's throwing the terrorist word around. Whenever they want to bomb or kill somebody or throw you in jail or take away your rights, they're just going to call you a terrorist. So if you protest an oil company, they're going to call you an eco terrorist. If you say something online they don't like, they're going to call you a cyber terrorist. So that's all they have to do is say you're a terrorist, and that's it. You don't have any rights, and we can bomb the hell out of you.
And taking action where the previous administration failed to.
Right.
The Houthis have been.
So Joe Biden bombed Yemen 1,000 times. So that's another lie. We're going to take action where they failed to. Up until what Israel's doing to Gaza, Yemen was the world's, you heard her say it, it's the world's biggest humanitarian crisis. Then Gaza overtook that. And she's lying, saying that Joe Biden failed to do it. He was bombing the hell out of them. I showed you the video of Trump in May of 2024 saying Joe Biden shouldn't be bombing Yemen. We could end this with a phone call. Why are we doing this? So this is just her lying.
Disrupting maritime trade and passage for a very long time.
Okay, no, they weren't. They when there was the ceasefire between Israel and the Palestinians, the Houthis stopped interrupting the shipping going to Israel. They stopped it. And they haven't attacked anybody since the ceasefire started. Guess who broke the ceasefire? The United States. We're bombing the hell out of them now. Why? Because Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, did not live up to the ceasefire agreement. The 3-stage agreement, they didn't live up to it, and now they're back bombing the hell out of everybody in Gaza and the West Bank. Slaughtering people. Bombing everywhere in Gaza and the West Bank. So she's just lying.
No serious effort has been taken to stop that disruption. Our country and other countries should not be in a position to have to make a decision to reroute commerce going through that area simply because of the Houthi threat that exists. So President Trump has taken decisive action for our own safety, security, and prosperity. And I know we'll look to...
It has nothing to do with our safety. It has nothing to do with our security. It has nothing to do with our prosperity. Nothing to do with our prosperity. This is us going to war at the behest of other countries once again. A thing she used to rail against. Now she's the instrument of it.
Other affected countries, as there are many who are impacted by this, to similarly take action.
And so now
millions of Yemeni.
And now she's encouraging other countries to join us in bombing the shit out of Yemen. All for Israel. Tulsi Gabbard wants other countries to join the U.S. in attacking Yemen. During Trump's first term in office, Gabbard was leading critic of Trump's backing of the Saudi war in Yemen, which she called genocidal. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has called for other countries to join the U.S. in attacking the Houthis in Yemen, a country she previously strongly opposed intervening in. The U.S. launched a major round of airstrikes against Yemen on Saturday and in the days that followed, killing at least 53 people, including women and children, of course. Gabbard said that the U.S. wants countries that are more impacted by a disruption in the Red Sea shipping to get involved. Our country and other countries should not be in a position to reroute commerce going through that area simply because of the threat that exists. The Houthis, officially known as Ansar Allah, ceased their attacks on Israel and Red Ship shipping after Gaza's ceasefire went into effect January 19th. So this is nothing. The U.S. began bombing Yemen again in response to the Houthis announcing that they would reimpose a blockade on Israel shipping. This is all at the behest of Israel. And because Israel wants to take over Gaza and the West Bank illegally. And they're slaughtering people to do it. So they abided by the ceasefire. Hamas abided by the ceasefire. Again, Israel didn't. Benjamin Netanyahu, he announced he wouldn't abide by it in January, and he's not. And so they said, okay, we're going to block the Red Sea again. And Trump is like, no, you can't. We're going to go bomb you at the behest of Israel now. Before, we used to do it at the behest of Saudi Arabia. Now we're doing it because of Israel. And we're going to use this as a reason for us to start World War III with Iran. This is the opposite of what MAGA voted for. The opposite. During President Trump's previous term in office, Gabbard was in Congress. She was the leading critic of the U.S. back. At the time, Gabbard was critical of the fact that Yemen war was unauthorized by Congress, making U.S. participation illegal under the Constitution, which it is. She was right about it back then, which is why I supported her back then, because she was right. And now she's doing the exact thing she used to decry and say was unconstitutional. So now Tulsi Gabbard, under the guise of her being a patriot, is now undermining the Constitution and acting unconstitutionally to slaughter people at the behest of Israel. President Trump's new bombing campaign is also unauthorized and illegal, as was President Biden's airstrike against the Houthis that launched from January 2024 to January 2025. Gabbard was involved in a war powers resolution that would have ended U.S. support for the Saudi war in Yemen, which was vetoed by then Trump in 2019. Congress has now, for a very long time, given up its responsibility to declare war, and this war in Yemen is a perfect example. So I and a few of my colleagues are introducing a resolution that will take back our congressional authority and responsibility that's given to us through the United States Constitution to stop this. Our illegal participation in this Saudi-led genocidal war in Yemen. She said that in 2018. And that's when we backed her, because she was right. Here's what Aaron Mate says. Well, Tulsi Gabbard reverses her once strong opposition to Washington's genocidal war in Yemen, calls on other countries to support Trump's military assault on the country. Aaron Mate says Beltway neocons melted down over Tulsi Gabbard's nomination because she took anti-war stances in U.S. targets, including Yemen. But looks like they had nothing to worry about. Israel first. So that's why they were afraid of her. And of course, I'm sure she must have said behind closed doors, don't worry, I'm going to bomb the shit out of anybody you want. And that's why she got approved. And that's why she's now the director of national intelligence. Israel first. Tulsi's Israel first. Trump is Israel first. The whole goddamn Congress is Israel first. You know who's not? The United States people. Okay, I guess MAGA stands for my ass got ambushed, because that's what happened. Hey, if you watch my show, you already know the mainstream news media is not reliable. They never tell you the truth about Russiagate, Ukraine, COVID lockdowns, or anything. That's why I keep partnering with Ground News. Their app and website make it super easy to compare media coverage from all over the world in one place. Like on Trump shifting his stance on Ukraine, if you go to Ground News/JD, you'll see the full coverage on how he's cut them off from intelligence sharing, Even the UK, one of our closest allies, can't pass along any U.S. intel to Ukraine. Ground News gives me instant access to over 300 articles covering it worldwide. They even tell you if each reporting source has a political bias, how reliable the reporting is, and if they're independently owned or corporate controlled. They'll even show you where the news sources are based. It's a super helpful way to see what kind of biases lead to some thinking this is some catastrophic betrayal of Ukraine that weakens NATO, while others call it a strategic realignment that forces Europe to take responsibility for its own security. When it comes to anything Trump does, you know the media is going to twist it to whatever fits their agenda, and if you're not checking multiple sources, you're going to fall into their trap. So I can't recommend enough following the Ukraine war on Ground News and checking your blind spots to find these stories missing from the other side of the political spectrum. You won't get this kind of transparency from mainstream media. Ground News is a lot like this show, actually. They're doing what we're doing. So just go to groundnews/JD or just scan the QR code on the screen. We're offering my viewers 40% off the same plan I use, which gets you unlimited access to all their features. This knocks the price down to just $5 a month. Subscribing not only supports an independent news platform working to make the media more transparent, it also supports this show and everything we do here. Come see us on tour in Hartford, Connecticut, Syracuse, Atlantic City, Levittown, New York, Co-Host, New York, Providence, Rhode Island, Los Angeles, Bakersfield, San Jose, Toledo, Ohio, and Toronto, Ontario. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.